Welcome back, Fox64Bolt here. So today I'm doing a tutorial on how to make this, as although you might be able to work out how to make it look like a Lego, it turns out not many people know how to make the colors move like that rather instead of just the horizontal layers. So this is what I'll be showing you how to do. I won't be making it exactly the same as this. Instead of doing it in slow motion like this, I'll speed it up a little bit. And yeah, let's get started. So let's get started by, oh no, wrong button. There we go. So let's get started by deleting everything by pressing A, then X. I don't have screencast keys because this is 2.92, so you'll just have to deal with it. Then add in a cube, scale it up, then add another cube, then because this is a fluid sim, we'll need our domain object. So just then scale Shift X so it doesn't scale on the X axis. Just save this to what should we call it? Lego Fluid 2. Okay, save. So now viewport display as wire. Then here fluid domain liquid. I'll do it again. There we go. This one fluid flow liquid geometry. Fluid flow liquid geometry. Give this an initial velocity of, let's just go -5 or -15. No, we'll go -10. Okay, G by like that. So now we'll do this. We don't need anything there. Set it to modular, set it to is resumable, then put that up to 64. And just bake data. Okay, so now it's done. Okay, so now it's finished baking. Let's just go visibility, renders, uncheck. Make sure to get the correct one. And then just press hide for now. And space just to view what it's like. Yep, that looks alright. Does hit the top of the box, which I don't really like it when it does that. So I will quickly just redo this so that it doesn't. Actually, no, that's fine. Yeah, Alt H try and hide them. Yeah, now we've got that. We need to bake the mesh. So just hide that, and then we go down to mesh. Like that. That if you want it to be blurred, like motion blur. But because as we're not doing just the actual fluid, then we don't need to do that. Then bake mesh. Okay, so now we've got the mesh done. There we go. So if I just quickly hide this, you can go ahead and delete them if you want to. For now we don't need to though. So anyway, we have this, and it does looks like that. I didn't fix it in the end, I just left it as it is. So what we want to do is we want to remesh, so let me just pause it there, and then we want to do it as blocks. If this works, probably want that at 6 like that, then uncheck that. Why is this not updating? Let me just work out why this isn't updating a minute. Okay, I worked out this. We were selecting the hidden cube, not the actual mesh. So make sure to click on your proper mesh, add modifier, remesh, blocks. Want that about 6. Uncheck, remove disconnected like that. And you see how it does this? And it gives it like the proper grid system. But look, the problem is if we play this, you see how the level of them shift up and down, like at the bottom here as well. That is because it takes the entire mesh, like the bounds. So I should be able to show you the bounds like that. So it takes this size, which is work, and it remeshes it from there. So that means that they change each time. So to counter that, what we want to do is add a boolean. Set up here, make it a union. Then want to go into solid view so that we have some frames. So press tab, go to top view, just drag these down to the corner. They don't need to be perfectly aligned as long as they're larger than the central one. Then A, G, Z, bring it down, Shift D, and Z, bring it up to the highest point. So if we change this back over to bounds, you want to, nope, that's the wrong one again. So we press tab, click on that, then change that over to bounds. Just play it. Just drag along the bottom like that. And we need to make sure that it's higher than the highest point, which is there. Which it is, so that's good. So set that back to solid view. And now what we need to do, go to here, then boolean union cube 3. It's that one because the other two are hidden. Wait for it to just compute. Okay, now it's done. So now these cubes will all stay the same size. However, we don't want to see that. So go over to here, visibility, hide from renders. Back to here, we can actually hide these by pressing H. Back to here, and now we don't want to see these cubes in our render, so to get rid of them, we add another cube, scale it up, and scale it up, like that. Make sure it selects the fluid simulation, but not those cubes. Then select your fluid simulation, add another boolean, wait for it to just load and add one. Okay, then change it to intersect. Okay, and then just select that cube. So now that gets rid of the ones on the outside. So now we want to go back to here, hide it from renders, press H to hide it. And now if we play this, it will be very laggy. So don't press spacebar like I just did, or it will freeze up. That's because it does all the calculations of the modifiers every single frame, and this is running at 24 frames a second, so it's doing all those calculations every single time, a lot of times a second, which causes a few problems. So instead of just pressing space, what you want to do is, oh, it's frozen a minute, let me just stop it from freezing. Okay, it's back. So you would want to just click along. But if we look at this, at the frame of it, we see like the bottom levels down here. So I'll put my mouse just there and wait for it to update. And you see that didn't move, and nor did any of the other lines. So, and that's good because that means that all the cubes or the mesh will all stay the same as it would. So it won't look weird. Okay, so now what we can do is probably want to go to your particle system, just hide it from your render, because otherwise it just sometimes pops out. Although actually no, as long as you don't add an object to it, it won't actually render. So you don't necessarily have to do that. But yeah, just so now add another cube. Hide this one with H. and this is going to be the actual Lego brick. So scale it down, probably about that. Scale it up on the Z-axis. Then tab, shift A, you want to add in a circle, then add circle, fill type, N-gon, then G, Z, then scale shift Z, because although it's like a plane, there's still technically a little bit of Z height to it. Then E, Z, you might have to press it twice. And now we have our little Lego piece. And if you want to, you can come down to the bottom, face select, click on it, press I, and then just extrude that up along the Z axis like that. Okay, so now we have it like that. Just press tab. That looks a little bit more like a Lego brick. Not that I've seen many. You could even add your own little logo on the top here, or like the Lego logo itself to make it a bit more realistic. You could even add a bevel modifier, although I wouldn't recommend it. So shade smooth, go over to the green one, go to normals, auto smooth, just so this face here looks smooth, not all blocky. And then might want to rename this to fluid sim, so that you know that it's not, so you know which one is which. And then you might want to rename this one to Lego brick. So rename this one to Lego brick. So click and drag on the Lego brick and hold down shift and drag it into fluid sim, as this is how we instance it every single point on the fluid simulation. Okay, so now we go over to here, and then we go to instancing, instance on vertices, so that we get a Lego brick on every corner of the mesh, every vertice of the mesh. So if you moved the main Lego brick up, you might see that it does that. So what you want to do is Control A, location, and then Alt G. Wait, no, that is incorrect. So Control Z, just undo. Okay, so what you want to do actually is either move it manually until it looks like it's about in the right place, like that, or you can press Alt G, which doesn't actually work, so I'm pretty sure you do actually have to move it manually like that. And as you can see, there's gaps in between. So on side view, just scale it up until the gaps on the side, these gaps here, look about right. Now they're not in the correct places vertically, and we will fix this now. But what we want to do is like that. And yeah, so now on this we add in let me have a look at my notes, a lattice modifier, which is here. So just add it in, it will take a second. Okay, so now that's loaded. Shift A, add in a lattice. And then go back to there, make this that, like that. So a lattice is like, so using a lattice you can procedurally like displace it. It's like you can scale it up. So if you scale the lattice here, so press tab, I believe. Actually, no, we need to go into the lattice tab, I think. Let me work out what we have to do. Okay, so you have to go to the lattice area here. Or do you press tab? I do not actually know. Let me just check the other file, the one I made before, so that I can work out what we have to do. Okay, so we want to change this to 6. Okay, and let's just hide this. Ah, there we go. There's the actual lattice. So whilst you're working with the lattice, just click this button here to hide the lattice modifier. Then hide. Nope. And hide everything. I accidentally put Alt H. So then we could just scale this up without it actually changing anything. Although we'll actually want the fluid sim visible whilst we scale this up, so we can see how much we need to scale it up by. So just right click if you're already scaling it up just to cancel. Then show the fluid sim. Now we can scale it up on the y-axis. Actually, I think the reason it's very slow is because although we hid the modifier, it's still doing the calculations. So what we want to do is wait for it to stop lagging. Actually, just delete the lattice modifier by clicking the little X next to the down arrow. So just delete that. It will take a little while. Okay, so now it's gone. We can hide that. Click on that, Alt H, or just click up here. So yeah, now we can scale this on the y-axis and it doesn't lag. So scale it up on the y-axis, scale it up on the x-axis, so it's just the right size. Scale it up on the z-axis. And then like that, just make sure it covers the entire model by just going back through some frames. Yep, so this one, so it's covering the entire thing. So now what we want to do is Control A, apply the scale. Now we add the lattice modifier. So now what we want to do is set that to the lattice. Wait for it to stop lagging because it has to do with the calculations. So if your simulation looks like this, then I have no clue what to do. I will quickly just find out. It's something to do with the scale on the lattice and how we applied the scale. So yeah, see how it's like broken apart. I will quickly just work out how to fix this. So it turns out that actually applying the scale on this lattice is not a very good idea. So we are quickly going to restart by deleting the lattice modifier so we can change the lattice without it completely breaking. Although we will actually be deleting the lattice. If you are following along with this, then sorry about all this. So yeah, delete the lattice, add in a new one, then press tab and then scale along the y-axis. Make sure to press A before pressing scale so you can actually scale it. Make sure it's plenty big enough. Make sure to scale up on all axes. Then to get a more even scale, get here and set that to 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines vertically. You can up that if you want. It doesn't do much. It just makes sure it scales everything properly. Makes it look a little bit better. So now what we want to do is add a lattice modifier to the fluid simulation. Just wait for that to stop lagging. Now we select the lattice, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this won't break this time. And okay, I am now very confused as to why this is happening. So I will quickly do a little bit of experimenting to hopefully fix this. If you are following along, sorry about that. Okay, so I think I worked it out. I think it's actually a problem with Blender. So what you want to do is so I'll just delete this quickly just to show you how to do it, or at least just how to add it in without and connect it to this one. So add it in, and then just down here set the radius to large enough that you can actually see it, then just set it to there without actually doing without scaling at all, because the applying the scale is what currently breaks it, from what I can tell. Okay, so now we want to go into side view, go over to the edge, scale on the Z axis, make sure you selected the lettuce, I'll call it a lettuce. And as you scale the lettuce up, on the Z axis, you should see that, and I don't think it's working. Okay, so I worked out how to do it now. So if you just scale it without pressing tab, it does not actually scale the thing, which means you can just scale it up without pressing tab. So in normal edit mode, no, not edit mode, normal mode, you can just scale it up so that it overlaps it. This took way too long to figure out, so I need to just remember how lettuces work. So, yep, just scale it so that it covers it. And then just move it up. And then scale on the Z axis. So that it covers it. Like that. I don't think it actually does have to completely cover it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. But I cannot actually remember. So now what you want to do is press tab. Going to side view once it actually decides to update. Make sure that W is set to 6. Press A. Then scale on the Z axis until it looks alright. You don't need to do this if you made your Lego bricks square, but as I made mine like a rectangular shape, or cuboid actually, I do have to do this. So yeah, just scale on the Z axis till it looks about right. Then just press tab. Now it should. Look at that. Now we see there's a problem with it sideways now. Oh, you do want to make sure to press Control A, apply scale on the fluid simulation. This might mess it up slightly, so we might have to redo it. But yeah, this messed it up slightly, but just remember to do that. So just press tab, scale it up until it all looks right. You don't have to just scale it on the Z-axis. You can scale it on any axis, and this just procedurally scales it up. So yeah, just do that until it looks right. One problem that can arise when scaling it up is that you see over here it's very close together and they're very far apart in the middle. That's from these numbers over here. So to fix it, just increase the corresponding value to a higher value, so like 6 or 8. And although this will slightly mess up the scaling, it will make it a much more even scale, which will mean that it is much more even along the axes. But if it does get very extreme, like towards the edge, then just increase it a little bit more. Okay, so once it's all scaled up so that it looks much better, with your lattice, go to visibility, hide in renders, H to hide it, like that. So now we want to add in a camera. We want and add it circle around, add in the plane axes, add in the camera, shift, drop onto the empty. Now, Control 0, bring the camera there. G, Z, Z, or ZZ, so that we move it along the local Z axis for the camera. So now with the empty, press I, rotation, last frame by shift right arrow. Wait for it to just get to the last frame, which will take a while because it has to load all the modifiers and do all the calculations, which will take much longer now as we have added the lattice. There we go. And then click on the empty up here, press R, Z, 360. If you want to go all the way around, then I, rotation. Then back to the first frame or any frame, as we're now going to be doing the textures and setting some other stuff up so that it looks nicer. So hop over to the shading tab, go to rendered view. So we want ambient occlusion, screen space screen space reflections, and then there we go, rendering in Eevee. So down here, go to world, Control T. If you don't have Node Wrangler enabled, enable it now. Then just load up HDRI. I'll be using this one because it's just one I like. Transparent film, and now go to the fluid sim, change it to object. And now, just in case it peeks through the gap, so you want to add a texture to this. So we're just going to add a dark blue texture. So just click a new texture, wait for it to load, just set it to a dark blue, lower the roughness. Now we're going to be adding the texture to, where is it? The Lego brick. So this is where we have the large texture node to actually add in the nice textures. So let me just open up the screenshot I've took of the texture. So what normally people might do is add in a color ramp, and then take a geometry node and take position, separate X, Y, Z, and use the Z. Normalize, we need a vector math, then absolute, no, normalize, that. And they might change it so that this one's like a darker blue, that's like a very light blue, so it is like that. So the higher up it is, the lighter it is to represent foam. However, we're not going to do it like that, as then it doesn't change as you go through it. So instead, we're going to use a texture coordinate. We're going to take vector transform. We're going to need a point density, separate X, Y, Z. We need math nodes. Change it to normalize, which I can never find. Not normalize, absolute. And then I'll have to work out the value for that because I've forgotten it. But we need 3 of these. Then we need to combine X, Y, Z. Then we need the color ramp, like that. Then we also need a mix shader and a glossy shader. Don't scratch. My cat was just scratching the carpet. Okay, so take the glossy shader, lower the roughness, like that. Take the color ramp, take that to there, 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 that down to there, that down to there, that down to there, change that to that, change that to that to that. Then object is fluid sim, particle, liquid, space, world space, as we turned it into world space there. Radius 0.5. You can change all these, or at least these values. Interpolation closest, color, particle velocity, resolution 150. Then we need that to go to there. If it stops freezing. And it's frozen. Okay, so like that. So set that to a dark blue or whatever you color you want it to be. Drag that down to like there and set that to like a very, very light blue, like that. Stop! Naughty. Let me just let my cat. Okay, so just lower the saturation so it's a bit brighter. And now this should, let's just go to a different frame where there's a bit more velocity going on, particle velocity, as that is what drives the actual texture. That. So let's go back to this shading tab. Once it stops being slow, okay, so I forgot something. When we actually have to free the mesh, and then free the fluid bake, fluid simulation, as when we do it, we need to use speed vectors so that it actually saves the velocity information of the particles, because otherwise it doesn't actually save the velocity information. Like that. Particles, I think that's it. So we just need to rebake the mesh, saving the velocity information. This shouldn't actually change the scene at all because it's just redoing the mesh, and the particle simulation is still the same as we're only redoing the mesh. So now this, by redoing this, and checking use speed vectors, this should work with the texture. So I'll just get back to you when it's done. Okay, so now we've redone the mesh with using speed vectors. Let's go back over to the shading tab. And it didn't work. Okay, I'm just gonna have to work out why that is. Okay, so I just remembered. So you want to swap it over from Eevee to Cycles. There we go. So it doesn't actually look that good, to be honest. Just do that. Okay, so yeah. What was I gonna say? I don't actually know what I was gonna say, but yeah, now we've changed over to Cycles. It actually works now. And we have the stuff. Doesn't look that good, but then if you change the radius and then the resolution, you can change how it looks. I'm not going to do that as it takes too long on my computer. But that will change the bits there. Yeah, another little tip. If rendering out and in FFmpeg, instead of it being in a .mkv format, click there, click that, where it says in MP4. Now, it'll render out as an MP4 video. But yeah, just render it out however you want to render it out now. And yeah, just change the colors, change other stuff. And then I think I don't actually know how to get rid of that. I will quickly just look how to get rid of it so it doesn't show up in a render. So if you do that, then it won't, like, unchecks show render, then it won't actually render out properly. So you can't, I don't actually remember how to make this one here hidden, so you might have to work that out yourselves. But if you wanted to like slow it down, just change the timescale number here and up the amount of frames it is, and it will then just change it and make it look a bit nicer, or slow it, do it in slow motion. Yeah, that's all for this tutorial. If you're still watching, then it must mean that you enjoyed it, so please like and subscribe. Yeah, thanks, bye.